Hello there, and welcome to the Babblers Guild. Now, we've had, I think it's about 2 weeks off now. That's for numerous reasons, mainly because we kept forgetting.
That's pretty much it.
But we're not too fussed about it, to be honest, because I think it's quite nice to have a little break in between a couple, maybe miss a week, get it up. We're just going to put them up whenever we do them, and it's all going to be gravy, isn't it?
It is. It's going to be gravy, oxo,
Wow.
whatever you want.
Bovril.
Even a bit of I was about to say Bovril, a bit of beef extract. Can't beat it at a football game in the winter. Ooh,
You can't.
yeah, or on toast.
I
I spread it on toast sometimes.
I've never had it on toast.
It's just like a really beefy Marmite.
Wow, I know they do a chicken bovril, which I do put in like
Oh.
chicken gravy sometimes.
Just put it in
It's
chicken.
Put it in chicken, like
Stuff your roast chicken with Bovril.
get the giblets out, get the chicken bovril in, and bloody Bob's your uncle.
Still in the glass jar. Extra texture.
Exactly.
Don't do that. Please don't do that.
Yeah, please
Health
don't
and safety
do that.
warning.
Yes, one chicken, one jar. Anyway.
Oh no.
Anyway,
Moving swiftly on.
Moving very swiftly on. How are you? I don't even know why I'm asking that because we've actually just spent the weekend together, haven't we?
We have. It was a nice romantic getaway, wasn't it? we've been in London, haven't we, with our partners, the
Yeah,
four
we
of
have.
us. And a shout out to Josh, who was with us. I know you're listening, Josh.
Yeah, Josh, you're definitely listening. I can hear you listening, even though this is live and you're not here.
Giving us plenty of updates for the pod. Updates,
Definitely.
suggestions of things that he'd like to. I don't know why I said updates. So Josh has given us plenty of suggestions of things that may come up at some time. So just in honour of that, I would like to say, according to all known laws of aviation, there is no way that a suggestion is getting in this podcast. No, I'm joking. Josh wanted a B movie nod, so there you go, Josh. But yeah, we had a nice weekend in London, didn't we?
We did. It was really nice. We went to the old Winter
Wilhelm
Wonderland.
Wonderland.
Yeah,
Wilhelm
yeah,
Wonderland,
exactly.
because it's all German.
It is. Everything was German. It was great. If you've never been to Winter Wonderland or don't know what it is, it's basically they turn Hyde Park, well, probably like a quarter of it, into a giant festive place with lots of German markets and fun rides, roller coasters. Basically a gigantic fun fair that is on acid. And I'm just going to say that bratwurst that we had was incredible.
Really good, wasn't it? I can't remember which one I think I just had the smoky bratwurst with cheese, but you had
Like the classic one with like all the sauerkraut and everything.
that's it, sauerkraut, yeah.
It was nice, and the chips were great as well. But anyway, that's Winter Wonderland. We spent the weekend together, and when was the last time we saw each other in person before that?
It would have been September last year when we went to the 90s pop night.
It was, wasn't it?
I think
Yes.
that was it, yeah. I genuinely think that was it, because that was a fun
great
weekend
night.
as well.
Yeah, great night. That was really good. This week, it's sort of going to be the last one until the new year because obviously we've got all the Christmas break and everything like that. So we're going to do this, and then in that first week of Jan, we'll be back at you with a brand new. Well, I'm not going to call it a series, just a brand new episode, really. And we thought
Podcast of the week.
podcast of the week, the new podcast of the year, and we thought that because it's the end of the year, we love playing games. We're going to go through just the games that we've really liked playing this year, which I think's sort of a nice way to end the year.
Yes, indubitably. Very
Exact-
much so. I'm never saying that word again.
Indubitably. I don't even know. Is it a real word?
I don't know. I would go get a dictionary, but the price of books are extortionate. Thanks, Liz Truss.
Yeah, thanks, Liz Truss. Thanks, Liz Truss. The catchphrase is back in action. I'm going to start. I'll go through my top 5. I've got 2 honourable mentions, and then it's over to Jamie for his spiel of the games that he's absolutely bloody loved this year. Absolutely bloody loved this year. Yeah. Number 5. Here we go. We're just going to get straight into it. Number 5. So I've got 5. The first one is The Ascent. Now, I spoke about this quite a long time ago on the pod, and I love The Ascent. It's sort of like an isometric top-down shooter set in a cyberpunk world. It came out around the same time as the cyberpunk game, but this is way better. It's great. It looks fantastic. It's probably one of the best games looking wise I've ever played. You play as this like little augmented person. You can create your own character and whatever, and you go through this place, which is, I forgot what it's called. It might be called the Ascent, actually. I think that's why it's called the Ascent. And it's basically a city, but it's on loads of different levels. It's really, really tall. And all the way at the top, all the rich people live. All the way at the bottom, sort of the sewers, and how it all acts, and you work your way up through sort of like the gangsters and the crime area. And if you really like games where you get loads of loot, you can customize your character, there's loads of upgrades, and it's quite a good platinum to get if you're into trophies. It's a really good one to get. The action is absolutely solid as well, especially when you get to the end. There's this sort of minigun that shoots in sort of like omnidirectional in 3 different directions, and it just absolutely slices through enemies when you get that. It's quite hard to find though, but it's, if you like little isometric top-down shooters, and I think it took me probably to platinum it, I think it's just over 20 hours, so it's not too bad.
Doable then.
Yeah, it's very doable, and all the trophies are quite nice. There's one of them where you do need somebody to play with, and it's basically just revive somebody in co-op, and that's the only one you need for co-op. So if you don't know somebody, you're not going to get the platinum. But
jump on Reddit, there'll be someone.
Exactly. There'll be someone on Reddit. There's always on a forum on Reddit. But, Jamie, if you ever get it and you ever like it, I will happily play through the entire thing with you and just wreck all the enemies while you sit by and enjoy the fun.
I don't know if I could do any more games that involve ascension and working your way up something, because I just don't think it would ever compare to the Tower of Deadly Monsters.
Oh, one of the best games I've ever played. And we've both platinumed it, haven't we?
Yeah, is it Deadly Tower of Monsters or Tower of Deadly Monsters? I always forget.
Deadly Tower of one of the two.
Yes.
It's one of the two.
You just work your way up, don't you? And we've spoken about it before.
We have
That
spoken about it before.
We also need to just make sure that we speak about Kingdom Come Deliverance. And we've done it. Okay. Moving on.
Kingdom Come Deliverance, there we go. It's a great game. That is not on my top 5 because even though I have played it this year, it's not a newish game. Number 4, anyway, we're going to move swiftly on. Number 4. Now, it's no surprise that this is in the list. Now, this is sort of the 5 that I've got are sort of how much I've enjoyed the games over the year. So it is sort of a definitive. 5th is my 5th favourite, and then number 1 is going to be my favourite game that I've actually sort of played this year. But number 4, coming in hot. Now, they are all on a similar level to my likedness of them, but number 4 is, of course, the one and only Elden Ring. Which you don't like.
I still get flashbacks. It's, you know what? I can appreciate that it's an incredible game. The story is great, and for people who like those games, there's a lot of content to it, and it looks fantastic. It plays really well. Do you know what? It's not even that I don't like it. It's just that I'm terrible at it, and I don't have the patience to get good.
You do need patience to get good. You do need a lot of patience to get good. It sort of blew my expectations away with what sort of the God of War, the Souls formula can do and what From Software did. Because when they first announced that they were doing an open world-esque Soulsborne game, I think for me personally, I was like, oh, well, is that going to work? So all the interconnected levels and zones and how the whole world's connected. But what they did with it and how they expanded upon originally the Dark Souls formula, I think it's a proper achievement in gaming. Obviously, it won Game of the Year as well this year, which is probably quite well deserved of it. And they took everything, like all the way you develop your characters, the armaments that you put on, how you equip things, the different types of spells. And because it's open world, I think the main thing people were wondering is, how is the co-op going to work? Is it going to be very hard? And because they tried to make it a bit more accessible for people who aren't into the Soulsborne games. And the way they counteracted that is by having summons, which weren't people, they were just NPCs, so you could have like the different enemies. So you had like wolves and the enemies that you fought, and you could turn them into spirits that you summon to help you in battles. And it was a really nice addition to the game. The world is phenomenal. Like you said, it's beautiful looking, especially when you get into the big open plains and everything with the castle and everything. It's brilliant. And they didn't shy away from not telling the story. Which I thought it was going to be open world. Here we go. We're just going to get a big, strong narrative written by George R.R. Martin. But no, everything was as it normally is. You had to talk to people. You had to read item descriptions in order to get the story. So it had the essence of a Soulsborne game, but with sort of like the fantastical element of that high fantasy narrative and world that they created. And the art direction is is amazing. If you're into fantasy games and you like challenging games, get on it, because it's sort of everything that you would realistically want to be looking for in a fantasy RPG game, which is just everything that I really wanted for it. I ended up going down the route of being basically a tank, and I had I can't wait for the DLC to come out, like the story DLC. I have these 2 swords, which are the Iron Great Swords, which is very hard to farm. I think it took about 10 hours for me to farm 2 of the swords from this very specific enemy. And basically all my attacks are jump attacks. I've got all the charms and the talismans and everything to make my jump attacks like 25% more effective. Maxed out both the weapons, and even like sort of the harder enemies, I can at least 2-shot them. And it's sort of a nice feeling that when I get into a boss arena, I can sort of kill it in like 20 hits instead of having to spend like an hour on a boss. Which is quite a nice feeling. But that's number 4, Elden Ring.
Elden Ring. Oh.
Elden Ring. You should go and bloody get it. But maybe we'll revisit it together, and I'll go through the entire game with you, Jamie.
I think I don't know if I have the patience for it. It looked great. I did like the fact that it doesn't really tell you what to do, and it's not linear at all, really. I know you need to have some things to get in some places, but also you don't. You can kind of like find shortcuts to different zones, can't you, and take on bosses early and stuff, and then obviously get absolutely pummeled because you're too low a level.
Yeah, and that's like what I was saying, like the essence of the actual core Souls games are still there, where it's an interconnected world, doesn't tell you what to happen. You can go to an area or a boss too early, and it's like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be here yet. Maybe I should go away for another couple of hours and kill a few easier bosses to level up.
Yeah, I don't think it mattered how high level I got. I just was not good. Not good. Couldn't get the timing right.
And that's fine. It's not for everyone, but at least you appreciate the beauty of a Souls game.
Yes.
Yes, he does. Now, number 3, I did speak about it last time we did a pod, and I love it, and I am working towards the platinum at the moment, and it's Evil West. And at the moment, I am still completely gushing about it. It's brilliant. It's honestly...
You've been enjoying that, haven't you?
I really have, and I think the main reason why I've been enjoying it, as I mentioned the other week, is purely because I'm a massive fan of Dark Watch. Did you play Dark Watch on PS2?
No.
Dark Watch is phenomenal. It's basically the same story as Evil West, pretty much, where it's a big cowboy institute who hunt down mythical monsters like vampires and werewolves and everything, and you play as a guy in Dark Watch called what's he called? Jericho Cross, which is the most cowboy name which I could think of. And the Dark Watch logo is literally a skull surrounded by bullets, so it's quite metal. It's great. But Dark Watch is a brilliant game if you've never played it. I do boot it up on the PS2 every now and again because it's really, really fun to play. But Evil West sort of takes that and moves it into that God of War style, over-the-shoulder, third-person action-adventure RPG sort of style thing where you can customize your character, upgrades. And the most interesting thing is, and I think it's really nice, is that each weapon has a dedicated button.
Oh, I like that, yeah.
So you don't have to go on a stupid weapon wheel and switch weapons constantly. Like
on UFC, each button is a different limb.
Exactly, it's exactly like that. It sort of took that formula but applied it to a cowboy vampire hunting game.
There we go, it's just cowboy UFC.
Oh, can you
imagine?
There is
actually a UFC fighter where he's retired now, Cowboy Cerrone. It's just based on Cowboy Cerrone.
It might actually be. But it's like, so R2 is your pistol. You can like hold that and it shoots out in quick succession. If you hold down L2, it aims your either your carbine rifle or it's. Did you watch I think is it 2005? The 2005 Van Helsing film with Hugh Jackman.
I have seen it. I don't remember much of it, but I know that I've seen it.
Do you recall the like machine gun crossbow that he has?
No,
well,
I don't.
So you get a while. You basically get a machine gun crossbow, and it's so good. So you have a switch between that, and then you have like square is like a quick fire double barrel shotgun, and then you have like this grenade, and then you can stun all the enemies by pressing triangle. Like every button does a different thing, and you can do all these different combos and everything. Now, saying that, the story it's not the best story in the world. It's just classic. It's sort of like there's a big bad guy and everybody wants to go kill him. That's it. But that's classic. It's a classic PS3 style game, which is sort of the game that I've been wanting to play. Because I think
missed the PS3 games.
Exactly.
They were so simple.
It is. It's simple, and that's the core of it. And I think we've got so bogged down, well, the gaming industry's got so bogged down in having to pump out 70 to 150 hour RPGs, which nobody can complete unless you're a student.
Yeah, I think it's just that's just the way storytelling's gone in general in film and television as well. You think of films in the noughties. We were watching some the other week, and they were quite simple. They're about an hour and 20 minutes or so. There'd be a nice story. You could follow it all the way through. Whereas now everything's got to be like 6 or 7 2.5 hour films, which you have to really pay attention to follow what's going on, and you have to really think. And I think it's nice sometimes just to have something that's a bit more linear. Things are explained along the way, and you can just follow. And it's just okay. We'll introduce the protagonist early on, and your whole or an antagonist, sorry, and your whole journey is getting your own back on them.
Yeah, and that's a nice thing to go for. And I think that we need more games like it. Like I remember a couple of years ago, I think it was 2018 or 2019. Do you remember when they did release the remake of Medieval?
Yes, I do remember. Yeah,
that I remember booting up and going, "This is great! Like this is what I've been wanting." Because I just finished playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey and spent 120 hours platinuming it, doing all the DLC and everything. And then Medieval came out, and I remember just booting it up and thinking, this is what I've been needing. Just a nice linear game where I can just go around, swing a sword. It's not taxing on my brain. I can do individual levels. You
never see a mission select menu anymore, do you?
No, you never see a mission select menu.
And I think that's why I quite like Call of Duty still, is because they still do that. You can just you have a start and an end point of a campaign, and you don't have campaigns anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't have stories. It's just one big open thing that takes hours and can go in loads of directions, and I love that. But also, give me something simple at the same time, something I can bang out in 20 hours or so, and not have to invest my whole life into getting fulfillment from it.
Yeah, that's exactly what Evil West is. As soon as you finish the mission, you can hop back on and replay it, and it's got a collectible counter, because there's 3 different types of collectibles. There's bags of money, which is what you buy upgrades for your weapons for. There's lore collectibles, which you don't really need to get them, but it's interesting because each one you don't actually have to read. There's a voiceover for each one, so you can just sit there and listen to it, and it's really nice. And then the next one is it's sort of like upgrades and perks for your character, and you get them in chests. And like I said, on the mission select screen, you can see how many of you've got and if you've got them all or not, and there's trophies attached to them. So that's really nice that they've brought back some classic type of gaming. And I think from what I know, it's sold pretty well. The reviews are pretty decent. And you know what? It looks fantastic. It's very, very colourful. The colours are so out there in your face with some of the lighting choices in some of the scenes. One of the first missions is this train that explodes, and you're in the middle of the desert, and it's at sunset. So you've got all the red flames, but then you've got the orange sunset and everything, and it's a very beautiful game.
I think that's the thing, is as they developed consoles, they started initially PS1, PS2, PS3, and then PS4 was a case of how can we make the game look better and perform better. Now it's a case of, we'll tweak that a bit, but actually, can you fit this massive map onto the hard drive and load it all at once and have all this stuff? So it is nice just when some games it's really nice to have that big expansion, that massive environment, that really in-depth story. Other times it's nice just to have a fun story and it looks good and has cool features.
And that's exactly what Evil West is.
Yeah, I might have to buy this.
I'll send it you if you want, because as soon as I've platinumed it, I'll send it you along, so you can have a little play of it. It's
very nice.
15 hours to finish the campaign, and then I think it's probably about 22 to platinum it, 'cause it's basically just a clear up and then finish it on the hardest difficulty. So.
Oh, not playing games on a hard difficulty. It's Elden Ring all over again.
It is Elden Ring all over again, but it
Give
is
me
New
easy
Game
mode.
Plus.
I'm a noob.
New Game Plus, though, so you get your full upgrades, and you get your... Because the machine gun crossbow basically destroys every single enemy, and as soon as you get onto those first levels again, it wrecks everything, so it's really good.
Yeah.
Gonna move on to my number 2, which is unsurprisingly God of War Ragnarok. I'm not going to talk too much about it though, because obviously you haven't played it yet, have you?
No, not yet.
No, and like I said, once I've platinumed it, I will send it you along as well, so you can chat about it when you're on that. God of War Ragnarok, sequel to 2018's God of War. It continues the story right where it leaves off, and it's all these mad twists and turns. It looks brilliant in 4K, especially if you've got 4K telly, play it on that. It just looks amazing. The story's fantastic, and it's nice because obviously it's public knowledge that it's going to be the last Norse one.
Yes.
As all the producers and everything said. But it's really nice because obviously I won't spoil the ending in case obviously you haven't played it, in case anyone listening hasn't played it. But it's sort of nice how it ends because it closes that Norse story off, but then it also leaves it for you to go, ooh, I can't wait for that next one. So it's a nice sort of in-between of, it's like a melancholy ending. It's very, you sort of like sad because you're like, oh, that's the end of the Norse stuff, but oh, where's this going to go now? Which is a really nice feeling. The gameplay's fantastic as well. You have all the moves that you have at the end of the first one. It doesn't strip you away like a classic game would. You've still got all of those combos and everything, but then you can sort of upgrade them and you add more combos to yourself. But like every God of War game, you're still going to use exactly the same moves over and over again.
Yeah, always. Get the Blades of Chaos out.
Exactly. And you know what? There's some parts in that game towards the end which are... I just played it on normal difficulty. Like, I wasn't going to do it on easy. I wasn't going to do it on hard. I was just going in the middle as it's intended. Like, there's some parts in that game which are rock solid towards the end. And I can't imagine finishing it on the hardest difficulty. There's this one bit where you're in Muspelheim and there's like 5 enemies. You're about to go out to the gate, and like a classic bit, it's like, let's leave this area, and then there's some enemies before you get to the gate to leave. And there's this one enemy, and it's the first time you encounter it, and it's basically this bloke on the back of a big beast, and he keeps generating the shield, and while the shield's up, you can't harm any of the other enemies in the area. Oh. And I didn't realise, because it doesn't tell you, that if you throw your axe, you can knock him off. And that's what you're meant to do. And you knock him off, kill him, kill the beast, and then you can kill all the other enemies. But it doesn't tell you that. So I think I spent about 45 minutes over and over again, dying over and over again before I realised it. But the gameplay's fantastic. And I said to you when we saw each other on the weekend, the last 2 hours of that game are just no holds barred, just constant action, and it's amazing what they do in the last 2 hours of that game. It's a feast for the eyes, as some would say.
Oh, I can't wait to get on that one.
Honestly, it's very good. But with no further ado, we're going to get down to my number one, my favourite game of the year. I did talk about it before as well, and I've got a few honourable mentions at the end, but my top game of the year is a game that didn't come out this year, but I played this year for the very first time, and it's going to be no surprise to you. It's Days Gone.
Days Gone, yeah. You really got on with that, didn't you? You really enjoyed that.
Like, it's amazing. I watched some gameplay from it the other day. It just popped up on like Instagram Reels, and I was just looking at it, and I was just thinking, God, I'd love to play that again. And I don't usually get that feeling with a lot of games. Like, usually I play it to completion, 100% it, put it down, might touch it in a couple of years' time for a little bit, but I don't usually revisit too many games. But I'd love to boot that up. If I had the time, I would 100% play through that game again. It's that game, if you want a zombie game, is absolutely perfect. I think it is probably one of, if not the best zombie game that's out there for you to play, bar probably like Resident Evil 2 or Resident Evil 4, something like that. It's probably along the same lines as them in terms of quality and greatness, and just the intensity you feel when you're playing it. When you get Horde as well, and you just run around a corner and there's like 600 zombies on screen just like running towards you, and you do just think in your mind, fuck. you're like, oh no, I'm going to die. But it's just the weapons are there to allow you to take it down, especially when you can get like a Tommy gun in it, like a proper like Tommy gun, like a gangster Tommy gun, and it's got the barrel magazine on it and everything. And as soon as you get that, you're just mowing down hundreds and hundreds of zombies, and it's just so good. And the way that the way that the story's told and the way that it's paced and the writing, the acting as well is phenomenal. There's not one character in there where the voice acting or the motion capture or anything is bad. It's every last part of it is superb quality, especially now it's been sort of updated for PS5, like 4K visuals and all like the effects have been updated to that as well. It's really, really good, and there's a big following of it trying to get a Days Gone 2, which obviously I do have my suspicions that they probably, because of this, there's so many people who want a new one. Surely it's in development, like at least pre-production.
If
somewhere.
there's enough demand for it, you'd expect they'd maybe consider it, or at least have a few storyboards, wouldn't you?
Yeah, and I don't know why they wouldn't consider it, because it'd be a massive seller, because it sold millions of copies. Like, I know like reviewers completely panned it at the start, but that's because it's sort of like released with a load of bugs. Like, but I think that's probably down to Sony just wanting to get the product out there and make some money for it, because obviously they're there to a time scale with their publishers.
Yeah,
they want to get money in certain parts of the year and everything. They want it out for the holidays, get it for Christmas and stuff. But I think now they know that a game needs to be pure quality to release it, and I think that's shown with God of War. Like, I played that on day one, and there's no bugs, nothing wrong with it. It's absolute perfection.
I think that's it. Sometimes is they use us as like the beta testers now for a lot of things. They think we'll scrap it, we'll put it together, we'll get everything, we'll chuck it out there, and then they can tell us the bugs, and then we'll continually improve them over a year until no one's playing it anymore.
Exactly.
That's Call of Duty for you.
Well, there you go. But it's like, just fix it straight away. Just release the perfect game, and that's it. It's good that developers can patch games, but I don't think a game should be released where people are complaining about bugs. I mean, unless you're Bethesda, and that's part of the course. But, you know, but that's it. Days Gone is my number one. So we've got The Ascent, Elden Ring, Evil West, God of War Ragnarok. And the game that I enjoyed the most this year was Days Gone, which is absolutely phenomenal. Just going to round off very briefly with some honourable mentions. Ghost of Tsushima on PS5. Brilliant game. You did you play through that? Did you finish it?
Yeah, I didn't finish it because something came out. I can't remember what, but I did play a good chunk of it, and I did thoroughly enjoy it.
Very, very good. I've platinumed it both times on PS4 and PS5. That is one of the very few games where I'll definitely play it again, probably in the next year, because I love it, and obviously we're going to get a second one, and it's going to be amazing. I just love playing as a samurai and going through and chopping people's hands off. It's brilliant. And finally, this is also a game that didn't come out this year, but it was a free game on PS Plus, and it's Toem. Do you know what that is?
No.
It's great. It's probably the most relaxing game I've ever played. I did almost put it as my number 5 and put The Ascent as an honourable mention, but Toem's basically a game where you play as this little character. It's a 2D game. It's very short, probably about 4 or 5 hours. And in that 4 or 5 hours, you get the platinum naturally as well. And you basically are this character, and you're going to see this event that happens. I think it's like once every now and again. And it's basically this big light show that happens naturally. And it's this big gem on top of a mountain. And you've got to go there and take a photo of it. And the whole game, you set tasks by these characters in different areas. And it's basically, you're going through this game, listening to an absolutely beautiful soundtrack. I play it sometimes on Spotify. The soundtrack, it's beautiful to listen to. And while you're doing that, you're taking photos of the surroundings. It's a very unique art style. It all looks hand-drawn. It's all black and white. Very few colours in the game. And that's it. You literally walk around for a couple of hours and do tasks for people, taking photos for them, getting rewarded with different items to allow you to access the next area and help other people. And it's just a photography game that's very chilled out, very beautiful. I remember just like, I'd played it on a Sunday. I just booted it up, didn't know what it was, didn't look at any trailers, booted it up, got a coffee, and I think I had a pasty or something, and I played it. And it's just a lovely experience for the whole 4 or 5 hours that you're playing it. It's just a very relaxing, beautiful game. So if you have a chance, get a coffee, get some food, and just sit there for a couple of hours and play Toem. If you can, it's a very, very beautiful game.
Ah, there we go. Nice little recommendation at the end there.
There you go. That's my seven games. It's not all games about killing people that I like.
No. There's a good mix.
Well, sort of a good mix. I mean, they're all basically about killing people and ripping people's throats out, and then you have a game that's about relaxing photography at the end.
There we go. There
we go. But that's pretty much it. They are my recommendations. Jamie, what games have you loved this year? Please do tell.
So I'm gonna start off with one that you might laugh at: lawn mowing simulator.
Now, you absolutely love that. You bloody messaging me constantly about it. Honestly, I'm glad that you put a simulator in there.
No, I played this earlier on in the year, and I played it for probably about a month non-stop. It was all I was playing. Even when I was up till like 6 a.m. watching UFC, I'd have that on one monitor, and then I'd have Lawn Mowing Simulator. And essentially, it's as it says on the tin, it's a lawn mowing simulator. You have your own lawn mowing business, and there are different gardens you can go to. And you upgrade your equipment over time, so you can upgrade your actual mower, you can upgrade like the blades, you can have how it dispenses of all the cuttings, whether it's like the case that it stores it, or it like has a mulcher deck so that it like just shreds it, or if it like blows it out the side. And then different gardens have different sizes. They have different requirements. Like some people need certain patterns on the grass. You've got to dodge all the flower beds. You've got to do ground sweeps beforehand and pick up any dog toys or rubbish that's been left about. And you make money from these jobs, and it's dependent on, first of all, the size of the garden, how much you get like a contract, like a certain amount for a certain space, and they'll say, oh, bonus for doing it in this time. Also, depending on the amount of like damage you do, so if you hit any flower beds, you get a bit of a penalty, that kind of thing. And you just gradually build it up over time, and you can get employees that you can buy equipment for and send them out to other jobs, so that whilst you're doing yours, they're doing theirs. And you have to consider as well like the length of the grass, because some jobs will be like long grass and you've got to go a bit slower, or you'll overload your blades and they'll overheat and not cut the grass properly. So I really enjoyed that for the couple of weeks that I was playing it. I found that really fun.
You know the employees?
Yes.
So when you get them, is there some sort of like currency that you've got to pay them?
Yeah, so it's just, I don't know what currency it is, whether it's dollars or pounds. I think you can probably set it in the menus, but essentially you hire them and they have a wage. But then you send them out. It's quite easy to make the money back. The main thing is being able to afford the equipment for them to go and use, because you need to buy a whole nother mower. You need to buy the strimmers, because you have to trim the edges as well. So you have to send them out with equipment. And if you send them out with a mower, you can't use that one. So you have to gradually improve that, and then they get levels dependent on their experience. So the more jobs they do, the higher their level. They then do a better job, and they do a better job if you give them better equipment. They earn more money, but you get a personal level, I think, and then from memory, you can only have so many employees until you reach a certain level, and then it expands.
You know what? It sounds really good. You explaining it to me when someone says, "Oh, I love Lawnmower Simulator," you do initially think, what the hell are you on about?
Yeah, I mean, most of it is just sat there cutting the grass, but it's quite peaceful, quite satisfying as well, just watching the grass getting cut, and you can draw patterns in it, because you're most of the time you're actually just like driving a lawnmower. So I was tempted to actually get my wheel and pedals out for it, and have a go like that. And I did buy some safety goggles. I was going to do a stream where I had safety goggles and like a flat cap, and just pretending to drive lawnmowers. I never got round to it, but most of it's cutting the grass, but then there is also the element of growing the business. I'm going to re-download that, I think. But that was one game that I just really loved this year.
That's good. Well, you know what? If it's ever on offer or anything, or ever upgrade to the next PS Plus, I think I might actually give it a little go, because I do like a relaxing game.
It's worth it. It's so chill. It's so chill. And speaking of games that are chill, this game was not chill. It was actually quite stressful at times. But actually, I wouldn't say stressful, just a bit difficult, was Stray. That was another game that came out, which was obviously hotly anticipated, and I really enjoyed it. So Stray was first announced when the PS5 was announced. It was included as a game that you could expect to see on the console, like one of the launch games. It didn't come out at launch. But Stray essentially follows a cat that, trying to avoid spoilers for anyone who's not played it, is separated from a stray cat that's separated from its little family, and then falls into the underworld in this kind of like a dystopian, almost like cyberpunk underworld, and has to find its way back and uncover secrets along the way. And did you play Stray in the end?
No, I didn't.
No.
It's on my, honestly, I've got a never-ending list of games. It's like that's on it. Like Biomutant, because that's free at the moment. That's on my list. I've got the Tiny Tina's Wonderlands game on there. I've got Plague Tale Requiem to play still. I've got, honestly, my list of games to play is bloody never ending. It's ridiculous. But yes, I am going to play it one day. It does look great, and it's definitely one that I'm gonna venture into. Hopefully soon, probably in the new year. I'm gonna try and pick it up.
Yeah, well, just for the avoidance of spoilers, essentially you find your way into this like underworld where there's all these like robots living in slums, and it's like this dystopian sort of reality, and yet you're uncovering the secrets of it and trying to obviously get out. And what I like is it's one of those games that I was talking about earlier that isn't overly long. It just makes use of the fact that we can now have games with really cool environments that look great and are fun to explore, whilst also keeping it quite linear and having the story easy to understand. And there's lots of little twists, there's lots of little action, there's a good mix between exploration and action. There's a few little side quests that you can do. But I played it the once and that was enough for me. I did it in about, I think you can complete it in about 2 hours. I think there's a trophy for doing it in something like 2 hours, unless it's 4 hours. I'm not sure, but I did it in about 10 hours, I think, and just stopped to enjoy the story, do a few little side missions along the way, and you just play as a cat, just going around. There's a dedicated meow button. You can scratch walls and floors just because you're a cat. But I would strongly recommend that if you want something that's just fun, enjoyable, not too difficult. There's a couple of bits that are a bit like, oof, like having to avoid security drones or cameras. There are a couple of hostile NPCs in the game, but it's just such a fun game to look at, to explore, and to play. So if you want just something that you can sit maybe over the Christmas break and just bash out in a day, Stray is up there, 100% worth playing.
That's good. I'm definitely going to pick it up. Like I said, I like relaxing games, and I'd like to play the game as a cat. So there you go.
Okay. Yeah, brilliant game that. The other thing I'd like to talk about is Rocket League. I've been playing a lot of Rocket League this year.
Rocket League's fantastic.
I got back into it. I played it when it first went free on PS Plus it was either 2016 or 2017, and then I played it for about a week and then didn't touch it after that until this year. Someone said, "Just go on Rocket League," and I thought, "Go on then." Thinking, "Oh, I'm terrible at this," but then I really enjoyed it, and I've been playing and playing. Whereas now I've had a couple of months off because I've been playing Call of Duty, but I've gone back to Rocket League now, and that's mainly what I'm playing at the moment. For anyone who isn't sure what Rocket League is, or formerly known as Supersonic Acrobatic Rocket Powered Battle Cars, you are essentially a Hot Wheels car which has a rocket boost, and you play football by driving your little car into a big ball, and you have to hit it into the opponent's net. That's
It's
it.
great.
And
it's fun though. It's fun. I remember, because what car did I? Cause I've got the DeLorean on it.
Very nice. I've got the Batmobile.
Yes. Which one?
I've got the 2008 Tumbler or 2005.
Nice.
I think it's the Dark Knight one.
Can you get the Tim Burton one from '89?
I think all the Batmobiles are in it. There was a big pack with loads of them, so I might actually have the other ones.
I'm gonna have a look. I'm actually gonna search this up right now while you're talking.
There is one of the classic ones in there. I've also got the F1 cars. I've got all the F1 2022.
Oh, I didn't know you
cars.
could get the F1 cars on it.
They're all in it. Yeah, they got released. I haven't got the 2021 cars, just the 22 cars.
Oh yeah, sorry to butt in. You can get the 1989 Batmobile.
There you go. I knew there was a classic one in there.
And you can get the Robert Pattinson one as well.
Yes, they've got quite a few. So I've got the 2008 one. 2005 was Batman Begins. 2008 was Dark Knight. But
yeah,
I've got that one. But I don't use it too much. But I've just had a good bit of fun playing that, doing some competitive games. That's been enjoyable. Not really much else to say other than that. It's one of those things that, again, just is quite simple, but I've been really enjoying it.
Yeah, I mean, Rocket League's Rocket League. I think if you know what it is, you know what it is. If you don't know what it is, you've probably heard of it.
Yeah. So that's Rocket League, and the other one, the final one I'm going to mention, probably no surprise. I am actually really impressed with Call of Duty this year.
You love it, don't you?
Yeah, I do. There've been quite a few years on end where I still played it regularly. I've been playing that since I was about 10. I've been playing since about 2006, I think, on Call of Duty, which makes me feel really old. But essentially this year they've just seemed to have pulled it back a bit, because the last few years have kind of missed the mark. The multiplayer's been a bit stale, whereas this year it's not as complete as I would have liked at launch. There's been quite a few bugs. Every time they bring out a new update, they break something, but that's just Call of Duty. You get used to that. I feel like there was more they could have done with the multiplayer to have it running smoothly. Everything was like, yeah, that's not ready at launch, that's not ready. It'll be out in a couple of months. We're going to delay it further, so we've still not got ranked play, which usually it doesn't come out straight away, but usually you're not having to wait months and months for it. But the campaign was spot on. The campaign was released a week early, and generally haven't seen many negative reviews about the campaign.
Right.
Even when they've been good over the last sort of 4 or 5 years, people are still absolutely slandering them. But anyone who says on any sort of forum or any TikTok video, yeah, the campaign was terrible for Modern Warfare 2, they're like, no, you're wrong. I don't think it's the best campaign ever. I'm not sure what I would say is, but I would say it's definitely the best we've had in a long time, and it is up there as one of the greatest. The pacing was good, the characters were good, it was easy to follow, and the ending resolved things, but left a little bit of a cliffhanger. So I'm going to talk about it. So if you don't want to hear the ending, listen away now. But essentially, it's a reboot of the old Modern Warfare series, and most people will know this anyway if you're into Call of Duty. But at the end, there's a cutscene after the credits, like an end credits scene, and there are a group of people on a plane, and they order a special meal when theirs comes out, and they get a little metal dish. The ones where you have to like lift the lid off it, and they lift it up. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. And they lift up the lid, and then there are taped inside their lids like parts of a gun, and then they pull things out of their tray and out of their chair, and they put together guns. And then one of them gets out a phone and texts everyone and says, "Remember, no Russian," and drops his phone in a glass, and it obviously fizzes and destroys. So that was the end cutscene. So they've left it on a really good cliffhanger. So that was Makarov, and they're about to do like a Mile High Club mission-esque. So they're redoing No Russian. So they're on a plane, about to obviously conduct a shooting on a plane in the middle of the air.
Yeah, honestly, but that's like, it's really weird to say because obviously we've grown up playing all the Call of Duty games, but it's weird to say, but that's a proper deep cut, isn't it, now? Nowadays, that's a deep cut. Like, if you haven't played the original Modern Warfare games, you're not going to know what no Russian means.
No, there's lots of little throwbacks that I think, oh, that's so obvious. I remember doing that 3 years ago on the original COD, and then I'm like, 15 years. It's been that long. COD 4, I think, was about 16 years ago now. 15, 16 years ago. But No Russian, for anyone who's wondering, was essentially a mission that was very controversial to the point where you could choose to skip it, where you were Russian terrorists that committed a mass shooting on civilians in an airport. So the Russians on a plane texting, "Remember, no Russian." That was what was said at the start of the mission. They didn't want to speak Russian because they wanted it not to look like it was like a false flag attack, essentially. So there's a little throwback to that, but it was deep. Yeah, you probably wouldn't have something that drastic on a game today. I think that'd be a bit too far now. But it existed, and we had a little throwback to it.
That's good. I mean, Call of Duty, is, I think it's one of them franchises where it's stable, and it's every single one of them. Even if there is a bit of controversy behind it, it's always going to be a quality game.
You're always going to get a good amount of content out of it, a good volume of content. It's always going to have its money's worth in there. I think they've set the bar so high with previous installments that now if they're not on it each year, everyone is like, this is the worst game ever. And I'm guilty of falling into that trap. I'll still play it, but I'll complain about it. But this is the first time that one's come out, and I've been like, do you know what? I'm a couple of months in, I'm still playing it quite regularly, and I'm not begging for the next game yet.
Yeah.
So that is why it gets a nod this year. It's just, I wouldn't say hit the nail on the head, but it's definitely a return to form for me.
I mean, to be fair, like I have been watching some gameplay of it. I was looking at a video of all the little details in it. Actually, it's actually this morning, and with all the different like reload animations for all the guns and stuff, and then it's all like so specific. Like if you've got like the revolver and you shoot like 2 bullets, it'll actually just reload those 2 bullets that you've used.
Yeah, lots of little details.
And when you're doing the like magazine check and stuff, it's different to how many bullets. Like if you've got one bullet left, the actual magazine will have no bullets in when you take it out. So it's like all the little details have been very well thought through. It's basically just the developers just going, yeah, we can do it, so why not?
Yeah, it's just a shame that the servers were broken at launch and they had to remove about half the maps because of copyright issues. Because that was another thing they had. They've had to take the museum map out because it's like Getty Museum, which I think there was actually a lawsuit, like a trademark, 'cause it's in GTA 5. And then they were going to take out Greenberg Hotel, but that's actually stayed in. That is still in the game, and they had to temporarily remove the Yas Marina, or I think it's called Grand Prix, the map, because it was Yas Marina in Singapore, or no, not Yas Marina, that's Abu Dhabi. Marina Bay, there we go, the Singapore track. It was called Marina Bay, that was it. Marina Bay Grand Prix, but there was copyright on that. They had to remove all reference to Marina Bay, and now it's called Crown Raceway. So, just lots of little things that you're like, come on Activision, come on Infinity Ward, get it right.
I mean, and hopefully they'll fix the things in the future as well. I think now they know this. I think hopefully the next Modern Warfare 3, maybe. Who knows what it'll be called?
Maybe
Modern Warfare 3 Back in the Habit. That's what it should be called.
Yeah.
It's just nuns fighting each other.
Yeah, that'd be fun to see, wouldn't it?
Maybe, who knows?
Yeah, but those are my games anyway.
That's good. You know what? I think it's a very nice comprehensive list. Now, just before we leave, just a quick reminder that next week is not going to be anything because it's Christmas. It's Christmas on Sunday, actually.
Step into Christmas, step into Christmas, step
Copyright,
into Christmas. That's the only lyrics.
I don't know any more lyrics than Step into Christmas. That's just because of Gavin and Stacey. Now, when we come back in the new year, we're going to kick it off with a bloody big bang New Year special. And we're just going to have a chat, aren't we? Probably about how Christmas went.
Pretty much.
What presents did Santa bring us? And stuff like that. Tonight, actually, in 48 minutes' time, I'm going to be watching Avatar.
Taj Mansour's favouriteest film of all time.
What, the new one?
Yeah, do you know Taj from Come Fly With Me? You remember that back in 2010? He was like, my favouriteest film of all time is Avatar 2. I know it's not been made yet, but it's just going to be wicked. That was 12 years ago.
Well, I hope it is wicked. It's been getting some good reviews as well, and it's made quite a bit of money over the weekend. So hopefully it's very good. Yeah, we're going to View
in the land of blue men.
Oh yes, we're going to View to it. So I'm going to get a big Tango Ice Blast and some nachos and cheese, and I'm going to absolutely yum it up. And I'm going to have a bloody great time. So when we come back, I'm going to give you a full review of Avatar 2, The Way of Water.
Not every man this time.
No, not every man this time. I think it's because with every man, it's basically completely packed and sold out for every single showing. And we feel like for this, we'd rather go to somewhere that's a little bit more emptier, that we're not going to get some like freaks sat next to us talking for the entire time, because the View cinema rooms are huge, so you don't have to sit near anyone really.
You fit a lot more people in, don't you?
Yeah, and usually some people don't show up, so hopefully it's quite an empty showing, and get to eat them nachos and drink that ice blast. Anything you want to say before we go? Wow, now that is the new catchphrase of the show. Anyway, this has been the Babblers Guild. We're signing off for 2022. We hope everybody listening has a wonderful Christmas or whatever holiday you're celebrating. It's a Christmas or whatever holiday you're celebrating. And have a happy New Year. I don't care for New Year's myself, but there we go.
I didn't mind this one, to be honest. Bit better than the last two.
Bit better than the last two. Hope 2023 is a good one, and we'll see you all in the new year.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.